Hey, this is Keith, host of Sportsvibestv, and I'm coming at you with another Giants video. As you can see, I'm in a much better mood than my previous video where I was talking about some of the injuries that happened in today's game. But if you're into Giants videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I drop videos daily about the Giants, so make sure you're subscribed and you're here for the content. With that being said, let's get into today's video. In today's video, I'm giving a recap of the Giants versus Bears game that just finished. Unfortunately, it was marred with a bunch of injuries on the Giants side. We lost Saquan Barkley. It's fair that he tore his ACL, and also Shepard went down with an injury. He had a toe injury. He tried to come back at the beginning of the second half. That didn't work out, so he didn't play for the remaining portion of the second half. Golden Tate actually saw some play or saw some time on the field, pretty much because Shepard went down, and we really didn't have as many pieces as we thought we were going to have coming into the game. CJ Board, he made an appearance. If I'm not mistaken, he had 3 catches for 32 yards. I know a lot of people were looking to see how he could be a contributor. Overall, Daniel Jones fumbled the ball again. It's starting to become known around the league that whenever you get around Daniel Jones, look for the ball and swipe at the ball. If I'm not mistaken, Quinn was coming off the edge on Andrew Thomas, who was our 4th round pick. He was coming off the end, got around Thomas, and then he swiped the ball, and it ended up being a fumble. And if I'm not mistaken, Khalil Mack ended up recovering. And that, if I'm not mistaken, that was the first or the second drive of the game. That's pretty much how the game started. And then from there on, it was very hard to get a running game going. Barkley, right before he got injured, I think he broke one for about 16 yards. And it seemed like we were actually going to get into the game and start moving the ball offensively. And then he had the first play. He did a little hurdle, came down hard on his right arm, if I'm not mistaken. I thought that was what it was going to keep him out of the game. But he came back in after Dion Lewis gave him a little spell. And, that's when the injury happened. He was getting tackled. He was getting forced out of bounds. And boom, he blew out it's being reported that he blew out his right ACL, unfortunately. So after that, you could tell the team was kind of demoralized. And going into the second half, the defense was doing okay. They weren't doing great. The Bears had put up 17 points on them already by the second half. And we did see some signs of life, though. Fackrell, he had a sack. He was a new addition to the defense. Lorenzo Carter, he came out. He had a sack as well. B.J. Hill applied pressure from the interior portion of our defensive line, and he was also able to get a sack. So defensively, we were doing things, but, the Bears were still finding a way to work their way down the field. And, you can see in the second half that Patrick Graham made the adjustments because the Bears didn't score at all in the second half. And you can see that Bradbury, we got our money's worth for Bradbury. Bradbury had a hell of a game. We were kept in the game because of Bradbury. Bradbury was directly responsible for 2 interceptions that happened in the second half. The first, he deflected a pass from Trubisky that was then intercepted by Julian Love, our second-year free safety slot hybrid right now. And then later on, while he was defending Allen Robinson, he also caught an interception as well. And without those 2 plays, who knows what the final score would have been. But Bradbury, he's earning his money. The other cornerback that we traded for, Isaac Yiadom, I don't know how to pronounce his name. He didn't look too great. He almost gave up a touchdown that luckily, the receiver on the Bears dropped. Logan Ryan, he played in certain spots. He looked good as well. And Corey Ballantyne again gave up a touchdown to a rookie wide receiver at that. And I've made other videos where I've talked about Corey Ballantyne being a big question mark. And regardless of what they were saying in camp, Corey Ballantyne, time and time again, that kind of threw me off. Ballantyne and time again. But, over and over, Ballantyne has shown that he's getting picked apart by opposing offenses. And we really have to find a solution out there because I don't know if Ballantyne is going to be it. So towards the end of the second half, we started to climb back, and we ended up getting a rushing touchdown. And I think that really energized our offensive line. Up until that point, the offensive line wasn't playing great, but you can see if I'm not mistaken, it was a 4th and 1, and everybody got the push that we needed to get Dion Lewis. They ran right behind Will Hernandez into the end zone, and Will Hernandez shown that he can be a mauler, and he moved. He created the space for Dion Lewis, and he was able to score. We were almost able to come back, but unfortunately, at the end, Golden Tate ended up getting called for an offensive pass interference. One thing I saw, if I was a Bears fan, I'd be upset at our coach. If I'm not, on their last drive, he decided he was going to let the clock run down on a 2nd and 8, then call timeout. Then he decided on 3rd and 8 to run a passing play in which Trubisky was aware enough to slide. And they only had one more timeout at this point, and they weren't going to use it to kind of get everything situated for their kicker. Not to freeze the kicker, but you can see at the moment they were kind of discombobulated when it was time to set up and kick the field goal. And it ended up leading, the kicker to miss the field goal. You ended up curving it left. So that would be highly questionable. I'd look at my coach for that one, because, you let the clock run down. If you were going to call a timeout, why call a timeout on 2nd and 8 and then not decide to do anything on 3rd and 8 before you can get your kicker set up? But that's neither here nor there. That's for the Chicago Bears fans to worry about. Overall, in the game, I was pretty happy when it came to how Joe Judge's second game looked in terms of how we dealt with the injuries and with the adversity. This was another game where we ended up losing, and you can't really be happy about losses. But as a fan, you're looking at the team and you see that what the coaches are coaching is actually being applied on the field. There were times where Daniel Jones was in a similar situation where he threw the pick when Bud Dupree hit his throwing arm. He was in that situation twice in this game. And in one time he was moving to his left. He just threw the ball out of bounds like he was supposed to. And then there was a second time when he was moving over to his right and he just threw it at the feet of, if I'm not mistaken, Golden Tate. So you can see that the players are learning from the coaching, and they are getting better. It was a very close game. They almost mounted a 4th quarter comeback. And as a Giants fan, all you can hope for is to be competitive game in and game out in Joe Judge's first year as coach. So you guys as fans, let me know what you think. Drop your comments down below. Make sure you like and share if you appreciate this content. Once again, I'm Keith, host of Sportsvibestv, and I'm out.